All right, everybody, welcome back to the Travi Wavi. I'm your affable host, Travis Eason, your local Renaissance man and artist and podcaster now. Can you believe that it's been a whole year that we've been doing the Travi Wavi?
That's awesome.
I can't believe it. But happy birthday to us. Thank you, Sam Wolf, producer extraordinaire. If you are ever interested in coming down Thursday mornings around 10:30, grab a cup of coffee next door at Majestic Coffee Shop. They serve Onyx. It's my personal favorite. Come next door to Neon Parrot Live Studios and catch some live podcasts, the Travi Wavi, followed by The Breakdown with Ben. Well, you guys might remember and recognize my guest from last December, Dr. Travis Craver. Welcome back, friend. So glad that you're here. You got a little bit of time to share with us?
I do. I'm excited to be here. Just took a great sip of good coffee from the Majestic, so appreciate you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were here in December, I don't know if I had started my questions that I've been asking people since. So we'll just start with a nice softball pitch and then get right into the weeds, sir.
Yes.
But tell me about your siblings. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 3 brothers, all boys. So there's 4 of us that were growing up together in the Pine.
God bless your mother.
Oh yeah, she had it good. We loved on her well, but it was fun. We grew up in Longview, so we're in the pine cones of East Texas, and just had a blast.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You staying in touch with them?
Yeah, we're really close. I have one in Nebraska. All of my brothers played football at the University of Nebraska,
Go
and
Huskers.
so go Cornhuskers. And so one lives in Nebraska, one lives in Tulsa.
Okay.
He's a coach there, and then my oldest brother lives in Hurst, Euless Bedford.
Very cool. I just got back from Tulsa a few weeks ago. It's a neat city.
Beautiful city.
Very cool.
Really neat.
The kids are doing good?
They're doing great. My daughter's focused on tennis right now, so we're doing a lot of tennis traveling, and she's also in theater at Mann Middle School, so shout out to Mann Middle School and Chad Drake and his guys. And my son Linus is doing flag football, which is exciting. He's at Austin Elementary, so shout out to Ms. Bruce and the Austin Raiders.
Nice. Very good. Very good. Well, let's get into some of these questions. I sent some of these to you the other day, so we're kind of on the same page, but we're going to get into some weeds here because there's a lot going on in Abilene right now. There's a lot going on in Taylor County, lots of projects happening. And, our little hamlet is growing. We're becoming a bigger metroplex. You've been serving in Place 6 on City Council, and congratulations on a 3rd term.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Are you going to stay there forever? You think you got a couple more terms?
I got a couple more in me, I think. Yeah.
Good. So how is the pace of play? That's something you brought up last time, kind of the pace of things, that sometimes things go really quickly and sometimes there's a long sort of void or a period of time we got to get through.
Yeah.
Give me some feedback.
Yeah, I would say right now the pace is pretty fast, as you can as you've observed with all the construction going on downtown, but also at the same time the data centers, and I know we'll get into that in a little bit. And so right now it's kind of hectic and it's fast and it's furious, but it's fun.
Good.
It's fun because a lot of what's happening is growth. A lot of what's happening is exciting for the citizens of Abilene. So yeah.
Speaking of new construction, I'm a North Sider, but I know driving past, there's 2 park systems that we have, one off of Treadaway and one off of Ambler, that they've completely tore down those buildings. Those I guess it's like a vocation.
Yep.
What am I trying to say there, Travis? Help me.
Yeah, so a lot of what's going on, I think what you're seeing is just a lot of reinvestments. This is one of the cool things about Abilene. And I know you haven't asked, but I'll share it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of public-private partnerships. So we have a lot of people who are starting to reinvest into some long-forgotten places in our city. On the north side, there's a lot of beautiful gems that have maybe been a little bit historically ignored, but we have a lot of excitement of where the city is partnering with public and private entities who are really trying to invest and bring Abilene up to the standard it needs to be.
Well, the new facilities look gorgeous.
Awesome. And taxpayers help fund that. So,
yeah. So that'll be great. I know that I usually vote at the Ambler location there. Is that Sears Park?
Sears Park.
Sears Park.
Yes, sir.
So that's exciting to see. That's something that the public will get to benefit from also. So we have a new Robert Hanna stepped away.
He did.
He retired.
He did.
To my knowledge, I don't know if he's going to go on and do anything else.
No,
But we have
retired.
We have a new city manager.
Yeah, Emily Crawford from Brownwood.
Okay.
She's incredible. Emily is this is one of the cool things about Emily. She served in so many different departments in a city governance office. And so you're getting someone with really strong credentials who's experienced it all, from public works to, economic development to Parks and Rec. She's seen it and she's done it all. And so we're inheriting someone who has a very broad knowledge, but is exceptionally gifted in her craft and work. So I think she's going to do an amazing job.
That's exciting. I'm going to let her get settled before I invite her to come on the Travi Wavi, but I'd love to have her on. Okay, let's get into the data center. People have a lot of questions about the data center. I watched one of Blaze Reagan's podcasts recently. He had Brian Yates on. They talked about water and the Lancium project being a closed loop system, so that once the tanks are filled, once the coolant is in, we shouldn't expect too much evaporation and things of that nature. But there is still a lot of question marks around the amount of power and energy it will take, now and long term. And then I personally have some questions about the tax abatement that we offered to the project with Caruso, and is that something that could be renegotiated in the future? So give me some of your feedback, some of the things you've heard, closed door sessions, open door sessions, things you can share with us.
Definitely anything open door session, I'm happy to share. You pretty much put it beautifully. To see the education that you've put in behind the scenes, I think is super helpful. And it helps your audience that you're reaching here on your podcast. But pretty much when you think of an abatement, I think of that as the word accountability.
Okay.
Abilene has had the opportunity to create an abatement with the Lancium project because we understand a project of this size involves lots of monies, which is exciting. But also at the same time, there's a lot of moving parts. And there has to be a mutual benefit for both sides, obviously. So with us, we understand there's, job creations, right? We understand that there's a growing infrastructure in terms of economic development, right? And we also understand there's a growing need in our community of housing and such. And so the way that we use that tax abatement is, what are some ways that we can continue to bring the standards of Abilene up and benefit our taxpayers' dollars who are helping fund many of these projects, but also at the same time be on the forefront of job creation, be on the forefront of continuing to invest in our streets, continuing to invest in our local businesses as well. And so it's not a blank check per se, but it's an accountability to where there is mutual benefits on both sides. And that's the way we see it.
So one of the criticisms I have is that, or maybe it's just a question that's not answered yet, is that long term, the expectation for job creation is relatively low numbers, 60 to 75 jobs, something like this. In the short term, we have 5,000 to 8,000 transient workers, in our city spending money, sales tax and stuff like this, hotel tax. So, in the short term, there's definitely a benefit.
Right.
Are there some opportunities for Abilene businesses and entrepreneurs to partner with because the proximity is so close, to have that, the latency that's there with the compute? Are there ways that we can invest further into Abilene to create more jobs that are maybe in addition to and separate from the Lancium project?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think our universities are kind of taking a step in that direction. They're looking at opportunities to create degrees that are adjacent to the Lancium project. So we're having, for instance, at Hardin-Simmons, in the spring, they're going to be announcing a new degree where you can get an AI data degree that helps position you, not just necessarily for the Lancium project, but as we know across Texas, there's a lot of data centers
across the country.
And across the country even. There are a lot of investments that are being poured into that. And so it's making our students being able to invest in their futures as well. So it's not necessarily something that is going to benefit the Lancium project, but it is something that is benefiting and investing in retention of our students, education, and preparing them to go out into the world and be a difference maker. And so there are different ways in which there is partnering going on. There are different ways in which the abatement that we've set up is pouring money back into investing in Abilene, such as streets, such as businesses, such as incentivizing other local people who are wanting to be a part of what we're doing here in our city. So they're investing a lot of money, but the way that the abatement is set up is it's pouring that money back into our city that continues to beautify Abilene as a whole.
That's great. Have you used ChatGPT personally?
I have.
Yeah. What are some of your thoughts about that?
I think it's one of those things, just like anything, you have to have, I call it a moral conscience of self. How much is beneficial and how much is just brain rot. And, you know, I think there are some really beautiful benefits to where ChatGPT can really aid someone. But I think more importantly, it's important to be educated on the front end of understanding what its intended use is and what it's maybe not. There's a lot of questions and ethical concerns in terms of city government using ChatGPT, and it's not really made strides in that area yet. But my kids are very versed in it, and I'm actually learning a lot from them. And so I'm seeing a lot of the benefits, but I think more than anything is just understanding a healthy usage of it and how it can further educate you in a specific field and not relying on it for maybe the day-to-day things such as, you know, sitting down, having a conversation, having a relationship with someone. Those are things that ChatGPT really can't mimic.
Yeah, or not yet anyway.
Not yet anyway.
Interesting. So you mentioned the tax abatement and using some of that money towards road projects. But we also, I mean, I've lived here for 25 years. We've passed bonds to cover street repair and road work. And I, you know, maybe because Abilene is relatively spread out, we don't always get to see where those projects are happening. We don't drive in those areas necessarily all the time.
Right.
But, you know, for an Abilenian who does drive around town and sees, you know, potholes and all this sort of stuff, it's an easy complaint as a citizen just about in any community. But could you give us some, you know, from your perspective, where are we at with road repair and what is the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I get asked this question all the time. You know, I think taking a lens view outward is super helpful. So, for instance, you know, a lot of us as citizens are paying money back into those street maintenance fees, which since 2018, there's been over 55 million invested back into our streets. Now, we understand that many of us that inherited this opportunity, I'll call it an opportunity, where they weren't invested in the way that they should have been. We've definitely taken the proactive approach to start investing in our streets. A lot of that is being realized. A lot of that can be followed on the city website at abilenetx.gov. And it also shows you the upcoming projects that are on the horizon. So say people aren't maybe seeing realized opportunities where they're living, they get to see in real time on our website where those projects are being taken care of and what's on the horizon in terms of the next projects that are going to be adhered to. And I would always say, if you're experiencing any of those different opportunities where you're driving around and you see a dangerous hazard with a pothole or whatever the case may be, call the city. We just had a story recently run where a citizen was driving, unfortunately ran over a pothole. Her tire was damaged, called us at the city. She had a great experience. We 100% gave her a rebate for her tire, fixed the pothole. So there's always things that we can do better, and there's always things that we maybe miss, but that's where the collaboration part comes in because we're willing to partner with our citizens.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me that you know, Abilene does its best to be as transparent as it knows how to be. And sometimes we just need citizens to step up and say, hey, we'd also like some more information about this.
Absolutely.
So abilenetx.gov.
Yes.
You can find transparency about road work, repair, future plans.
Future plans, how much money has been spent, how much money is on the horizon. We even have open forums where we have our street maintenance quorum meets and citizens are able to speak into those, because some citizens are like, why isn't my road prioritized, or why isn't this area prioritized? And there's a method to it. There's a method to understanding how much traffic is typically on that street, how much money is going to be reinvested, and how quick is the turnaround on that street. So there's a little bit of math behind that, but it gives our citizens an inward look into how we prioritize it.
So if you're watching and you've got some issues with our city government at any phase, they meet twice a month, every other Thursday at 8:30 upstairs at City Hall. You're always welcome to go attend those meetings, speak your voice. There's usually an opportunity for citizens to come to the microphone.
Every time.
You can get on the website. There's a lot of great information on the website, and our city council people are wonderful.
Yeah,
You
just ask, honestly.
Okay, so we did get into money here a little bit. So something else that's kind of interesting for maybe some citizens of our community is that Abilene is a self-insured community. So, for instance, when this woman popped her tire, the rebate is more than likely going to come out of our self-insurance, which means that we as citizens are paying for any litigation that's happening against the city, We do have some current litigation against the city.
We do.
You're unable to talk about that right now for legal reasons, right?
Correct.
And that's okay. But if you're interested in seeing any of the litigation against the city, would that also be on the website?
Yeah, any of our current litigation is up on our city website where citizens can see what's on the docket and the limited amount of information they allow us to publicize. But yeah, there's always transparency to where they can see what's on the docket, who's involved in said lawsuit, and what that looks like.
Okay, and segue, because we don't have you for very long today, so I'm rushing through some of these questions,
you're
Travis,
good.
but thank you for that. But, looking at that, we do have some litigation against our city. We are self-insured. And there's been a lot of publicity recently about the Abilene Police Department. And current lawsuits and former lawsuits against that. Do you have, so this is just my criticism and my opinion. Over the course of my life, I have noticed that police departments have become more and more militarized and less peace officer. And so I don't have, any solutions here for our community, but are there some thoughts or things you could give us just from your standpoint about where APD's at and how we can support them and also feel supported by them?
Yeah, I love that. I think that is something that as a community we're definitely investing in. We're trying to do a much better job of just retaining the great officers that we have, but also investing in training for de-escalation or mental health education and ideation of knowing how to deal with specific cases on a case-by-case experience. We have great officers who give so much to this community. I think one of the things that we're trying to realize and do a better job of is what does it look like to prioritize continuing education and being on the forefront of educating them in dealing with different things that they may encounter. I think the one thing that we're also seeing, which is a beautiful thing, is the more that they're feeling valued and I guess retention is being realized and there's being a deposit, if you will, back into who they are as people and educating them, the public trust grows as a result. And so we understand that it's a long game. I think our police are doing an incredible job of investing into cities that maybe have a little bit of a tension in terms of trust, and so they're having more basketball games or community outreach where they pass out candy, or they're meeting with some of those community leaders, or they're just hosting open forums where they can be an open dialogue. And so I'm really proud of the ways that they've been actively taking steps and building trust and transparency in our different communities across the city.
Well, it's interesting. I kind of go back in my mind to the George Floyd incident from years ago and this whole defund the police movement. And at that time, I didn't like any of those questions or comments. But my question that came up was, well, what are we asking them to do? What are we asking our police department to do? And I think in a lot of cases, we ask them to do too much as first responders. We put them in situations that they may not have the training or the ability to manage that well. And then, sometimes poor decisions get made. I think most of the time that's not the case.
Correct.
But I want to bring this up because it's an important aspect of our community overall. How do we police ourselves and what's important and how do we fund that? How do we partner with them?
I think that's a beautiful thought. And one of the cool things that Abilene does, and it brings in that word collaboration again, is they partner with the Betty Hardwick Center. I think a lot of citizens don't realize that, the Betty Hardwick Center assists our police in different calls that they may have. So if they're dealing with someone who is having, for instance, a manic episode, we have people who are socially trained in those specific areas to partner with our police to deal with different cases on a case-by-case study. And so we have a leaning into policing in creative ways that maybe positions us to be better educated to deal with different needs that arise.
Well, it's, sometimes the overall feeling in Abilene is that, there's a lot of criticism and negative feedback, whether it's towards the city or the police or the roads or the data center or all these other things that we might or may not get into today. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are working really hard and are really devoted and committed to making Abilene the best kind of place that it can be.
100%.
And So those of you that are watching, leave a comment, subscribe, but also, give us some feedback about how we as citizens can come together to make this community better.
Absolutely.
With Mentoring Alliance,
Yeah.
what are some I mean, last time we talked a little bit about these resources, but what are some other ways that the public can be involved
Yeah.
and participate?
I appreciate that. So I'm the executive director for Mentoring Alliance, and we're an after-school program. We're a summer camp program, and we're a mentoring program that works with at-risk youth. We just tell people at risk isn't just financial. It could be spiritual. It could be emotional. It could be social. We are always accepting people who are willing to give from a stewardship of finance. Over 90% of our kids that we serve have an economic hardship. So we want to make sure that there's no barrier to entry for any kid that wants to be a part of our program. But we also elicit help from people who want to be involved and mentor kids in our program. We welcome that as well. And so we partner with Abilene Independent School District, but we're also in the Wiley Independent School District as well. And so it's just really neat to see from a north and south side perspective an investment in our community and in our youth. And so we welcome anyone who's willing to help and walk alongside us.
That's great. There's a lot of opportunities for volunteering and just getting involved in Abilene in lots of various capacities. And so if you're feeling, maybe like your time or your energy doesn't count, there's lots of opportunities to fit you in.
Absolutely.
How are we doing with housing? We talked about the fact that, I don't know if you and I talked about it today, but hotels are full.
Yeah.
Airbnbs are taken up. There's not a whole lot of housing available. Some of that's because of the transient workers with the data center. But we're a growing metropolis. And what are we doing to address some of these things?
That's a good question, because housing for me is one of the things that I ran on and one of the things that I'll continue to keep at the forefront of my mind. Some of the initiatives with Rebuild ABI have been a home run for our city. And encouraging and incentivizing a lot of our local developers to invest in those long forgotten neighborhoods that they've not maybe been able to, but knowing that we have some funds that are incentivizing the beautification of these areas is a win for Abilene. I would also say the Abilene Housing Authority plays a big role in what we're trying to do, from, assistance with bills or assistance with different needs that arise around the house. Depending on one's income level, we are definitely still leaning and tapping into those areas of assisting our citizens. But more than anything, we recognize that this is an ongoing and a growing need. So as a city, we're continuing to try to find creative ways to invest in it. We're having a lot of investors want to come in and develop land and develop housing. We're trying to do it in a responsible way that doesn't just fit the immediate need, because we know in a couple of years the transient workers won't be here, but our citizens will still be here. And so we still want to have beautiful neighborhoods with houses that will be long lasting and done well and done strategically. And so just continuing to be really, really mindful of our citizens and how we want to expand in a responsible way is what we're leaning into.
If you got to drive the reins on that, what are like 2 or 3 agenda items that you would try to get done sooner than later? Even though I know there's a sense of like, let's take our time and make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah. I think, for me, one thing I really think is important is making sure, first and foremost, we're learning how to take care of the people in need now. And those are the people who are needing that housing assistance. Those are the people who are just trying to find adequate housing for a home that they want to live in and invest in long term. And so those for me are important, because if we can't take care of our people now, it's hard to really reimagine what that looks like in the future. So I would say continue and invest in those programs like Rebuild ABI and really just beautifying neighborhoods and getting them up to the standard to where we would want them to be. So I definitely prioritize that first. And then I would say continue to invest in housing markets and areas where we're not just putting up, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom houses that aren't really structurally sound and made to last, but really being thoughtful on what we're building, how we're building it, and how does it continue to benefit Abilene as a whole. Definitely expansion. We're getting a lot of requests. A lot of those are, and not to say that RV parks are wrong, but RV parks aren't always the the long game solution
Yep.
for the best of Abilene. And so just being mindful of what we're putting in that continues to move us forward.
Yeah. And, the RV parks, just observing over the last 5, 6, 7 years,
Sure.
there's been a number of new projects that have happened
Right.
on I-20
Right.
for sure that I see, and they're full. They're
are.
full to the brim.
Yep.
So there's definitely a need for
Absolutely.
housing. There's just a need for
Absolutely.
housing, and we'll
Absolutely.
continue to work on that. I know
Yeah,
you're going to continue
absolutely.
to work
We
on
have
that.
to. Just because Abilene, in a beautiful way, is growing, there's a lot of people that see the communal benefit of Abilene. And I think that when we all recognize it's schools, it's police, as you mentioned earlier, it's streets, it's parks, all these things, people think quality of life are vitally important. And some people are willing to forego maybe a little bit of income or pay a little bit more in taxes if they perceive those quality of life things to be worth it. And Abilene has proven itself to be a destination where people feel there's a high quality of life trade-off.
Oh, I wish we had more time. Travis, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, but we'll get you back on. So another thing that's been kind of in the air around Abilene is we had the data breach a few months back, and I know you can share with us a little bit about that.
Sure.
I have read about that, but I've heard specifically from some different people, some of the outcomes from that weren't foreseeable were like death certificates, birth certificates, internet access at senior citizen homes.
Sure.
Lots of interesting things that I really had not put all into that. So, give us some feedback on that.
I think a lot of people understood once it happened just how far-reaching city governance and computerized optimization goes. And so it's not just impacting the city hall, it's impacting fire, it's impacting police, it's impacting a lot of things that go into what makes our city run. And so, it was an unfortunate event. We're reinvesting back into it, and there's been lots of money reinvesting back into it. You can replace a computer. You can do a better job of making sure you don't go down that rabbit hole again. But I think we're also trying to invest in the people that are overseeing those areas and making sure that we're adequately equipped to do the things that we need to do to protect ourselves even further. And so it's an unfortunate event. A lot of it is something that we never foresaw. And so investing into it has not been fun. But we know it's necessary. But this time around, we're trying to be a little bit more forward thinking on protecting ourselves.
Good. Do you think that there is any, because this is something I've heard from a few folks, that there is any correlation between having the data center project here and the hack?
No, not at all. It was just a happenstance. It was one of those things to where we were one of a couple of cities that had data breached, and unfortunately, it impacted a lot of different areas that we didn't understand or foresee or forego, and so it definitely had no connection to the data centers.
Okay, that's good information. Well, we're going to wrap it up a little bit today. I know we're not going the full hour, so I'm sorry for that, my audience, but Dr. Craver has places to be. He's a very busy man, and we're so grateful to have him back on. So let me just wrap you up with one or two just quick little questions, Travis. What have you uncovered about yourself this last year?
Man, I love your podcast, and you do an amazing job with it. And it's just fun to be able to sit and feel at home. I would say I'm discovering that, rest is vital. I think I'm a person who naturally is a go, go, go person, and I like to have things that I feel I've accomplished. But what I'm learning is in my own humanity, I'm better served when I listen to my body, when I listen to myself, and give myself permission to rest, because it just makes me better in those areas that I need to be. And so I would say that. And then I would just say that, man, I love my people. I love people like you. I love people that I get to live life with and learn from. And I'm grateful for it. I just think gratitude is something that is often missing in the simplicities of life. And so just learning the value of gratitude, man. Honestly.
I like that. Yeah. Gratitude is the attitude.
It is.
I'm better when I have an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
Let's see. Last question for today, sir, and then I'll let you go. So currently in our culture, there's a lot of interesting things happening, and I'm not going to get political about any of this,
Sure.
but I want to ask you, because you're in a position of scene power
Sure.
anyway, how are you, let's see if I want to ask you this question correctly. How are you standing up for freedom?
Honestly, and this is going to sound super cheesy, I'm doing the small acts of resistance similar to you. I'm just showing up. Honestly, I think the best thing that you could ever do is show up. And this is why I love coming to your podcast, is showing up and having a conversation. I think the easiest route for most is to show up on a Facebook thread or show up on an Instagram post or a LinkedIn and say what you need to say and just keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
I think the greatest form of resistance in the most beautiful way is to humanize people. And that means sitting down, having a conversation. That means opening yourself to hearing a different perspective. That means just seeing another person who's across from you or on the other side of you as a human being. And I think that it solves a lot. And it doesn't mean that there's uniformity, but there's unity in that. And I think that the more we can do that and the more that we give ourselves opportunities to understand rather than to only seek to be understood, that's the greatest form of resistance we can give. Yeah.
I like that. I agree with that. Well, any last comments or anything you want to share with us today?
Man, I would just say for those of you listening, podcasts like this are the way in which I feel brings us closer as people together, because it's listening to different things that impact our day-to-day lives, but it's humanizing those issues. And you have vantage points that I don't have, and I have vantage points that you don't have, and having an opportunity to come down and sit and have a little pushback and have a little insight is super helpful. And so I appreciate people like you who are willing to get involved, but more importantly, willing to share that knowledge with others. So,
I think it's good. Conversations and community, and because we're all just people.
yeah,
We're all just people. We're all trying to
Absolutely.
do our best.
absolutely.
Well, we're going to let you go because you have places to go, and we're going to
appreciate
get
it.
you back on. Thank you
Yeah.
for celebrating 1 year
1
podcasting
year,
with
and
me.
thank you for having me for
Man,
your
of course.
first year anniversary.
Of course.
I
It
loved
worked
it.
out perfect.
Yeah.
Well, friends, look forward to next week. I believe we're going to have Jeff Solomon on from Frontier, Texas, and that's going to be amazing. Got a lot of great guests lined up for you guys coming into fall. And again, if you ever want to come down and watch one of these shows, we start around 10:30 on Thursday mornings at Neon Parrot Live Studios. We are next door to Majestic Coffee Shop. I believe we're going to have the breakdown with Ben coming on next. And Sam Wolf, thank you once again for being our executive producer extraordinaire and helping make all this happen every week. Dr. Carver, thank you so much.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Have
Yes,
a
sir.
wonderful day.
You
All
too.
right, signing off from the Travi Wavi.